So I came across this quote as I was preparing for the show. It goes like this: Have you realized that most of your unhappiness in life is due to the fact that you are listening to yourself instead of talking to yourself? Let me give that to you again. Have you realized that most of your unhappiness in life is due to the fact that you are listening to yourself instead of talking to yourself? Now, often we've talked about the importance of those self affirmations, talking to yourself. But I've never heard it in that context, the way the author is describing it for us, like the unhappiness, it's due to you just doing a lot of listening to those thoughts that are running around in your head, and you're not taking charge of those thoughts, and that is leading to unhappiness. And that word unhappiness, it got me thinking, man, I've got to dig into that a little bit more, because we need happy students. We want our students to be happy. I submit to you that students who are more happy they're more likely to to be able to overcome obstacles on the way to accomplishing goals. They're more likely to persevere in the face of difficulty on the way to accomplishing goals. I submit that to you. Students who are more happy, they tend to do a better job of standing up in the face of adversity in the classroom, and they're able to achieve. Happy students, we want happy students. And the fact that we're talking about happiness, that not only applies to students, but that applies to you as well. We want you to be happy. We want you to be happy. But it's very interesting, because some of the research that I want to share with you, it says that, pursuing happiness, that shouldn't be the sole focus. No, there's more to it. And that's what I'm going to share with you in this episode. So we're going to talk about some of this research, the definition of happiness, and then I'm going to share with you 3 ways you can help increase happiness within your students. 3 ways to increase happiness within your students. So let's get into this. First, I want to share with you some data. Here we go. So, pandemic youth mental health toll, unprecedented data show. The pandemic took a harsh toll on U.S. teen girls' mental health, with almost 60% reporting feelings of persistent sadness and hopelessness. And here's a quote in the article. It says, in 30 years of collecting similar data, we've never seen this kind of devastating, consistent findings, said Kathleen Ethier, director of CDC's Adolescent and School Health Division. There's no question young people are telling us they are in crisis. The data really call on us to act. The data really call on us to act. And so there's a number of things. And again, I'll share this source with you in the description section, or you can subscribe to the newsletter. That's marvinbird.com/newsletter, and you can get this information sent to you. But here you see almost 20% of girls report experiencing rape or other sexual violence in the previous year. That's an increase. Almost half of LGBTQ students said that they had seriously considered a suicide attempt. And just landing on this again, emphasizing this, feelings of persistent sadness and hopelessness affected more than 1/3 of kids of all races and ethnicities, and increased over previous years. So there you see, we have an issue there, and you already knew that. You already knew that. And so, as schools, what do we do? As schools, what do we do? yes, the primary function of schools is to educate, is to help, is to teach students and help them to learn. But we know that that's not enough. Schools, they must stand up and do more. And definitely we wish that there were more resources to go along with that, because schools have to respond to these external variables. Schools have to respond to these external variables. And schools around the country, they are trying. They're trying, but more needs to be done. More needs to be done, obviously. And then, so what does that mean for you as a leader in the classroom? That means more is required of you. And I know that you know that. And that's why you're here, because you also believe the same as I believe, is that teachers are leaders. And as leaders, it's our duty to do whatever we can in order to help students succeed. And there are those external variables out there. Obviously, the students, they're only with us for a limited amount of time, Monday through Friday, but we have to do what we can, because that's what leaders do. Leaders find a way. They get more tools in order to solve the problems that are in front of them, and they don't stop acquiring more tools until the time is done, until the year's over, and we send the student on to the next level. Better, they're improved, more improved than when they first entered our classroom. That's what the ultimate goal is. And so, ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about happiness. We're talking about happiness today. What things can we do in order to increase the happiness amongst our students? And once again, the theory is, the hypothesis is that happier students are more successful students in the classroom. They're more willing to endure when things get difficult. That's what we're looking for, and that's why we're talking about happiness. So, let's define happiness first. But before we do that, I want to share with you that I'm almost finished. I'm almost finished with my new book, and I expect that new book to come out by the summer. The editing process is pretty intense, and as it should be. It should be intense, because I want it to bring value to you as a teacher, as a leader in the classroom. But I'm very excited. My new book is coming out soon, and I'm going to give you in the coming weeks, you'll get more information in terms of how to pre-order, get your copy of the book. I'm very, 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 very excited about that. So with that being said, first thing we need to do is we need to define happiness. We need to define happiness. In your mind, what do you think? What's your definition of happiness? What does it mean to you to be happy? I want you to drop that in the comment section. What do you think it means to be happy? That's your call to action right now. What do you think it means to be happy? So what we're going to do for the purposes of this episode is we're going to use this definition of happiness, and it's from this article. Again, I'll share this article with you. It's from Time Magazine, and it's titled The Daily Habits of Happiness Experts, and it's written by Angela Haupt. And I hope I pronounced your name right, Angela. You did some great work here. This is a really great article. So in this article, I love this definition of happiness. This is great. So here's a clip from this article. She says, the meaning of happiness is to an extent subjective, but nearly every expert we surveyed emphasized the same cocktail of ingredients. Here it is. A sense of control and autonomy over one's life, being guided by meaning and purpose, and connecting with others. Let me give that to you again. This is a definition of happiness that we're going to use for the purposes of this episode of The Marvin Bird Show. It's a sense of control and autonomy over one's life, being guided by meaning and purpose, and connecting with others. That's happiness. That's happiness. And as you can see there, it's just it's more than those than those thoughts of sunflowers and rainbows. There's more meat on that bone when we talk about this definition of happiness. So now let's talk about how we increase happiness. Let's get right into that. How do we increase happiness? Number one, you have to have a vision of success. Have to have a vision of success. Now, with my work still with young people, I have another YouTube channel. It's called Vision Chasers. And that YouTube channel, what I do is the purpose of that channel is to help young people find and pursue their vision of success. That's the purpose of that channel. I learned that as a young teacher, I needed to help my students in this area. I discovered that, wow, the one thing that I think is really going to help motivate my students is if they find meaning in what we are doing here in the classroom. If there's an actual purpose for what we're doing in the classroom. I taught social studies, and I had quite a few students tell me that I'm not really going to need this stuff in the real world. And so as a leader, I had to think, I had to problem solve, I had to find a way to help encourage my students to engage in what we're doing. And so I landed on this. I landed on, well, perhaps you might not need to know all of these facts in order to enter in the profession that you would like to, but I submit to you, it's the way that you acquire the information. You're going to use that long after you've left my classroom. The way you acquire the information in my classroom, you will use that in your science class. You will use that in your math class. That way of thinking, that way of applying your mind to acquiring new information, you'll use that the rest of your life. So you see, when we find ways to add that purpose to what we're doing in the classroom, when students have that realization that, oh, you could be on to something there. Perhaps I might step away from my phone. Perhaps I may turn my phone off for a minute, or perhaps I may turn my phone off for a minute or two to engage in what you're talking about, because at that point, that kind of you kind of hit on something there. So I may check you out for a little while. I may ignore my phone. You see how that works? We have to find a way to make it to make portions of their life meaningful and filled with purpose, because you're gonna have students who come into your class and they're gonna think, oh, I'd rather be home sleeping. That's what I'd rather do. You know what? Try that sometimes. Whenever you're working with a student, you're trying to motivate them. They're low on motivation. They don't want to engage. Just ask them, if you weren't here, what would you be doing? And a lot of times I get that from students. I'd rather be sleeping. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be sleeping. So you have to, and this is why I'm spreading this message that teachers are leaders. Like, we have work to do in this area, because happiness, as we shared in that definition, it involves someone knowing that there's a meaning, that life is filled with meaning and purpose. And based on that, when people are engaged in things that don't have meaning or purpose, they're unhappy. Now, I know this is not what schools were built to do. This is not what schools are equipped to do. This is not what teachers were trained to do. It's a lot. And in some cases, in far too many cases, I would submit, teachers are having to stand in the gap and teach lessons that should have been taught at home. Ideally, that's just, I believe that is just the truth. And we're not playing the blame game. Not playing the blame game. We're not playing the blame game. Let's just leave it at that. We're not playing the blame game. The students you have who come into your classroom, those are your students. And you are a leader, and leaders, they find a way. They find a way, or they never stop finding a way through adverse situations, through situations and circumstances that are not ideal. Leaders find a way, period. That's what we do. That's what we do. So talk with your students, converse with your students one-on-one, talk with them about, hey, what is it that you would like to do with your life? What is it that I can give you in this class that can help you chase your vision of success? What is it that can help you feel good about investing your time, effort, and energy in this class to be successful? Have those meaningful conversations with students and help them to discover their vision of success, because there's a lot of students out there who they just don't know. They haven't put a lot of thought into what they want to do. And I submit to you, I know this for a fact, that once students realize, once that light bulb comes on, once they realize, oh, this is what I want to do. Oh, and this is how this class can help me pursue that dream. Oh, I understand that now. Once students understand that, then it's not so much of a struggle to put in that effort. So that's number one. Number one, help students find their vision of success and emphasize that vision of success. So before we move on to the second tip, I want to submit this to you. This is marvinbird.com. This is a website. Up at the top, if you like this message that teachers are leaders, you like this message and you want to partner with me and help to spread this message, I encourage you to go to marvinbird.com, and at the top you'll see a tab titled Support the Message. Come here and support the message. And one of the biggest ways that people are supporting this message, that teachers are leaders, is by going to marvinbird.com, clicking support the message, and they're using this right here, Amazon. This Amazon link. Whenever you desire to shop at Amazon, I'm asking you to go to marvinbird.com, support the message, and click Amazon. And this will take you straight to Amazon. You'll have all rights and privileges to buy anything and everything that's sold on Amazon. And the prices, the prices, there's no increase. The price is the same. But whenever you do this, we get a little commission here. And that's one way that you can help us support that. That's one way that you can help us spread the message here that teachers are leaders. And many of you have been doing this, and I really, really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for partnering. And that just clicked it. So yeah, I appreciate, you see, I didn't even do that. I don't know what happened there, but there you go. There's Amazon. See, all rights and privileges to everything sold on Amazon. So I appreciate you, those of you who've been doing this. I appreciate those of you who are putting some thought into possibly doing that. Thank you so very much. So let's get back to this. So number one, we help students increase their happiness by emphasizing that vision of success, helping them discover their vision of success. And the reason we do that is because it adds that meaning and purpose to the things that they're doing. All right. Number two, show gratitude. Emphasize gratitude in your classroom. Emphasize gratitude in your classroom. So there is some other research that I looked up, and I'm going to share this with you. Again, I'm going to link this in the description section. But in this research, they found that there was correlation showed. This is straight from the journal article. Correlation showed that expressing gratitude leads to a rise in happiness, whereas expressing less gratitude leads to a reduction in happiness. Now, this is very simple. This is very simple. All you need to do is create a culture in your classroom that shows gratitude. Create a culture within your classroom that shows gratitude. And why do we do this? This is straight from the source. The source says the more you notice how happy or how grateful you are, the more it grows. So there's a correlation between gratitude and happiness. Correlation between gratitude and happiness. So we want to create that environment. Remember, I've told you before, you're the architect of your environment. You want to create that environment that embraces gratitude. We're showing gratitude, and that's going to increase happiness within your students. So here's a call to action. I want you to drop in the description section. I want you to share ways that you in your class share ways that you can encourage your class to show gratitude. I want you to share with our community that believe that teachers are leaders, ways to encourage students to share gratitude. You drop it in the chat. I'm going to drop a couple of ideas in the chat as well. So I will see you there in the comment section. That's what I mean. In the comment section, drop some ideas in the comment section. Thank you. The last tip is to teach students how to solve a problem. This increases happiness because ultimately there are going to be problems to solve. Ultimately, there are going to be problems to solve. And I did a video not too long ago about how to teach students to solve problems, and I'm going to link to that in the description section. But ultimately, success in life is about being able to set a goal and accomplish the goal. But on the way to accomplishing that goal is solving problems. You're going to have to solve problems. There's going to be resistance on the way to accomplishing that goal. That's just a fact of life. And so as leaders, we need to prepare students to be able to respond to those problems that they're going to face. And what this does is it helps to set the mind. When we talk about mindset, you have to think about it that way, that we're setting the mind, and the setting of a mind, that's something that has to happen on a daily basis. You have to set your mind. And what we want to do is we want to equip students to be able to set their own mind. You got to get your own mind right. You have to learn how to get your own mind right. So as a leader, you're helping them set their mind, but eventually you need them to be able to do it themselves, because they're going to encounter a lot of problems without you there. And you don't want them giving in to those thoughts that are inside. Remember the quote at the very beginning? Could it be that the unhappiness is due to you listening to yourself? No, you need to talk to yourself. You need to talk to yourself by engaging in that problem-solving process. What was that problem-solving process that my teacher taught me? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I can do this. I know it's really difficult. I know this calculus has more letters and symbols than numbers, but I can do this if I just need to go through that problem-solving process. Yes, I can do this. I'm good. I got this. Yes. I have everything that I need in order to solve this problem. Everything that I need to solve this problem. So check this out. This is another snippet from this article. It says the key to enduring happiness. The key to enduring happiness is not to rid your life of negative emotions. Instead, the goal is to experience positive emotions in the midst of difficulties. That's important. That's Very important. That's why we're going off of the definition that this author gave here of happiness, because I believe it works. It works. Again, it's not all sunshine, flowers, and rainbows. It's based in reality. Life is difficult. Life is going to be challenging. There's going to be problems in life. The key to enduring happiness is not to rid your life of negative emotions. Instead, the goal is to experience positive emotions even in the midst of difficulties. That takes a lot of emotional intelligence in order to get there. And students get there with your help, because teachers are leaders. And because we're leaders, we get into these things. We take the time to listen to a podcast talking about how we can increase happiness within our students. We do those things. We do those things because we know that ultimately it's going to help our students be successful in our class and long after they've left our class. So let me run those down again, because that's what I have for you today. You increase happiness within your students by emphasizing that they establish and chase after their vision of success. Number 2, build a culture in your classroom that emphasizes gratitude. And then also teach students how to solve problems. So that's it. That's what we have for today. I encourage you to reflect on those things and do some research on your own. How can you increase happiness within your students? And then come back here and share your learning in the comments sections. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. And until we meet again, please don't forget that teachers are leaders.